that they can do it for themselves, that they have permission to take time out of their day, that the world is not going to end if they don't do everything by the end of Friday. You really become that example of how powerful it is to take time for yourself. Real quickly, I'm going to go through that list again. What's good about preventative self-care? Well, it keeps you evened out. Number 2, it's not a lot of work because it's a habit. It's built in. Number 3, it's building self-confidence and self-worth. Number 4, it helps prevent burnout and breakdowns. And number 5, it's a great example for others around you. Now, real quickly, I want to go through some examples of what preventative self-care is. I did give you a few, but I have a couple more that I think is really important to talk about. So, number 1, taking your meds or your vitamins. This is crucial. If you are on any kind of medication that you need to be taking for mental health, or if you've got daily vitamins that you take, this is preventative self-care. And doing it consistently every day is such an integral part to taking care of yourself and building that habit. Number 2, getting enough sleep every night. This is crucial. I've talked about this more times than I can count on the show. The number one way people get self-care is consistent sleep. 7.5 hours or more a night. If you're nowhere near that, or you're one of my insomniacs out of there, I really want you to start focusing on what you can do. Can you take some natural calm before bed? Can you listen to some apps, some, fall asleep music? Can you change your hours that you're productive so that you can accommodate when your body's actually tired, and then move it back a little bit until you get into a routine that's conducive to your lifestyle. Number 3, setting boundaries. This is extremely important. This needs to happen every day, and this is a consistent part of preventative self-care. If you have a hard time saying no, if you have a hard time setting boundaries, I've got plenty of episodes in the archives. Go to our website, www.selfcareissexy.com. Search the word boundaries, or even just search the word no, and you're going to get a lot of great tips and resources on how you can really start to set those boundaries for yourself and make taking care of yourself the priority over all the other tasks you're feeling like have to get done. This is integral to preventative self-care because if you're not setting boundaries, you're certainly not making time for yourself. Number 4, you want to set up your morning routine. Setting yourself up for how you want your day to go, whether it's planning or journaling or meditating, whatever you do, it's really critical that first hour that you're awake. Instead of just slamming yourself into the day and running headfirst into whatever's there, really start to protect that very precious time with some kind of morning routine, whether it's, get up, brush your teeth, take your meds, do your meditation, or whether it's get up, go potty, go outside and take some deep breaths, whatever it might be. Just make sure it's a consistent routine that you can follow no matter what you've got going on. And number 5, one of the most important ways that you can get preventative self-care is through daily movement. I don't care what you're doing. It could be kickboxing with my badass ladies at I Love Kickboxing in Oregon City. It could be walking on the treadmill for a half an hour a day. It could be, adult hula hooping. It could be yoga. Whatever thing you're into, just make it a consistent habit to get movement every single day. All right. The last little thing I want to talk about when it comes to preventative self-care, I told you we had a lot to get through today. I would not kidding. Is that you want to know when it's appropriate to use preventative self-care. And so, number 1, the most appropriate time to use preventative self-care is when you're not in crisis mode. That's so important. So, it's also important to recognize when you're in crisis mode or when you're close. I've got a whole episode that goes through how to identify if you're falling over the edge, if you're about to tip over into crisis mode, how to recognize it in your body, how to recognize the signs by what's going on around you, how to recognize it in your own speech patterns. If you've never sat with yourself to figure that out, this is crucial. You need to know when you're about to go into the red zone, because just like every great football club out there, Knowing what to do when the pressure is on is the difference between winning or losing. And I mean that in the sense of losing your fucking mind, all right? Number 2, how do you know when it's time to use preventative self-care? Well, it's on the onset of feeling like you're losing control. And when I say when you're losing control, I mean like control of your time, your day, things like that. So I want you to sit and I want you to think about this for a second. Are you currently feeling like you have no control over your day? That you hit the ground at 100 miles an hour and it's, Mommy, I need this. Honey, where's my lunch bag? Oh, the dog's got to take crap. Are you charging into the day full force with no control from the moment you wake up to the moment your head hits the pillow at night? Do you feel like the entire time you're awake, you're doing something for somebody else and you never get the time? Well, if that's happening to you right now, you're definitely getting close to the red zone and you need some preventative self-care. This is where setting boundaries is going to become really important. It's going to be difficult to switch everything like 180, so just do it in small incremental chunks. Take it one thing at a time. I can't help you with your lunch bag right now, honey. You're going to have to figure it out. Little Timmy, little Johnny, little Susie, you're going to have to get yourselves ready today. And you know what? If the dog takes a dump on the floor, so be it. Let someone else clean it up. You need to take that time for yourself. Now, I know when I say this, a lot of people are going to roll their eyes and be like, that's impossible. I can't do that. Well, let me ask you this. What's the price of not doing it? How much of your own joy are you deferring? And how much of your life are you giving away to other things that don't even matter? Because you're telling yourself a story that you have to do these things. Once you start to figure out that you don't have to do anything you don't want, then you start reclaiming your power and you start taking back that control. Number 4, how do you know when it's a good time to use preventative self-care? Well, if you're a chronic people pleaser, if you're codependent, or if you're a caregiver, or if you're overwhelmed by just the idea of stepping outside of your current pattern to take care of yourself, it's a good time to really enact some preventative self-care. And you can do that by setting yourself up for success one small thing at a time. It could be as easy as going to bed 10 minutes earlier than you did last night. It could be as easy as setting a time limit for the Facebook, the Instagram, the TikTok on your phone. It could be as easy as setting a boundary with your spouse, your partner, your husband, your roommate, whatever, today, saying, hey, this thing that you're doing really bothering me, please don't do it anymore. And setting yourself up for success by really putting yourself first. And if you're struggling with this concept because it feels selfish, if you feel guilty about it, I've got plenty of episodes to help walk you through how you separate yourself from that and how you understand that that comes from a place that has nothing to do with you. You know, if you don't know this, if you're new and you don't know this about self-care, you've been pre-programmed to think that self-care is selfish, that you're going to turn into an egotistical narcissist, that if you really make time for yourself, the whole world is going to fall apart. Well, it's better to have you conditioned that way and make you in service to others than it is for you to have the freedom to do what you want and change the perception and change the mentality of the grind culture, the go, 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 the get it all done, the keeping up with the Joneses, the falsehoods that we're trying to chase that aren't even worth it anymore. They're not even the same thing. So if you feel like you're falling into that chronic people-pleasing behavior, if you feel like you're identifying with a lot of the control patterns of codependency, and if you feel like your whole identity is wrapped into caregiving, then it's really time to stop, full stop, and get yourself set up on a preventative self-care routine that you can do today, right now, before the end of your day. No matter what you're doing, there's got to be something that you can do. Get creative. Come up with a way that you can give yourself some self-care today. Number 4, another great time to use preventative self-care is when you're in preparation for something really hard that you're about to do. Like if it's visiting family, or if you're starting school, or you're moving, or a new job, or something in your life circumstance is about to change and it's going to be difficult. That's when you really want to utilize that opportunity to start up a preventative self-care routine. All right, we spent about 20 minutes talking all about preventative self-care. We're going to switch gears and talk about restorative self-care. Now, I told you this is going to be a long episode, so if you're burned out and your content is overloaded, that's 100% okay. Turn me off, come back some other day. That is the beauty of audio recording. I'm on demand. I'm on your clock. I'm on your schedule, and you deserve your own time. So if you got another 15, 20 to listen to me yammer on about restorative self-care, great. If not, give yourself the kudos, the congratulations, and the appreciation that you listened this long. It's so important that we celebrate what we're doing right. All right, let's get on to restorative self-care. So what is restorative self-care? Well, basically, it's pretty much the opposite of preventative self-care. It's the self-care that we do when the shit has hit the fan, or we've just made it through some crazy, dark soul journey, some hard life event like a breakup or getting fired or going through grief or some kind of pretty heavy situationship, right? That's when restorative self-care is really gonna do its best work. And we do restorative self-care when we've hit rock bottom. So some kind of crisis makes us full stop and take care of yourselves. And I want you to think about this. The last time you were really super sick, like can't get out of bed sick, that's when restorative self-care kicks in. It's when there's no other option. You have pushed yourself way too far, or something's happened that's way too big for you to deal with, and your only option is self-care. And restorative self-care is just what it sounds like. It's here to restore us to normal, or to our baseline, to a healthy mental health state. That's what restorative self-care is. It's usually pretty big, in application, and restorative self-care is usually expensive. It takes a lot of time, and it becomes our primary focus until we feel better. But it's so important because it helps us get closer with ourselves. It helps us to center. And restorative self-care is the type of self-care that we remember it. We remember when we do restorative self-care. You remember the last time you took a vacation, or you had a spa day, or you did some kind of big, spontaneous road trip with a girlfriend, or some kind of big thing that you did that was all for you, that took you out of your life. So I want to go real quickly through the 5 things that are good about restorative self-care. Number 1, restorative self-care is good because it's easy to recognize when we need it. When you're in the red and shit has hit the fan and you have no other alternative but to full stop and take care of yourself, that is the best part about restorative self-care because it's pretty loud and obvious and glaringly there. You know if you've been through a hardship. You know to recoil and to turn off your social button, to turn off your phone, to shut down any extracurricular responsibilities, and to tell people no, and to go inward to heal. And that's so important that you do allow that to happen. Because what happens if you don't allow yourself that restorative self-care when the shit hits the fan, it's just going to build and build and build. And you're going to have a bigger problem to deal with later. Whether it's, full-on inpatient situation, or whether it's, complete removal from your life, or you lose your job, or the kids get, taken away, or something crazy like that happens as a result of you not taking care of yourself. Number 2, it's usually big and sweeping and fulfilling, and it invokes a lot of those ooey gooey emotions about ourselves. It's usually something that, when we're involved in restorative self-care, we're likely to cry or have some sort of cathartic moment where we recognize